Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller.
Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Now, we've talked to brewers, and we've frequently talked to those at the retail end, but in the United States, by law, there is a third party, the distributor. And they do just what their name says, distribute the beer from the brewery to the various bars, pubs, and liquor stores. And since the end of Prohibition, it's required that alcoholic beverages in the U.S. all be sold through this three-tier system. It prohibits single ownership of all three tiers.
It did become a problem because of just how that had worked. If you can imagine, a brewery X owning the beer and the distribution and the bar and the regulation and those things at one point was perceived as a problem.
Seth Koch there from Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings. An argument can be made that without this system in place, the craft beer movement as we know it could not have happened.
We've distributed beers to Aberdeen and Rapid City and Yankton and Spearfish and, everywhere all over. I don't own a big diesel truck, nor could I make calls on these accounts effectively. So when we're heading out to the West River and those things, it's really nice to have a distributor. And the distributor provides a service. Of course, they have a warehouse. They have a whole inventory of beer that they can sell and select from. And they also have a sales staff, which all of these things would be really cool, but it would be impossible for small breweries like myself. Even large breweries like Crow Peak, if you sat down and talked to Jeff and Josh, they have a very close relationship with their distributor because they are the means to get their beer out of Spearfish.
Brennan Sully Sullivan of Pints and Quarts points out that in Brookings, it's kind of a four-tier system.
We get our beer straight from a distributor. We can't buy it from the brewery directly. It has to be through a licensed distributor. Basically, they deliver the beer, they drop us off an invoice, and then we have to pay the city after they assess their markup of either 10% on beer, I believe it's 11% on wine and liquor. We are the largest municipality that has the local option.
Which means basically the city gets its cut. Now, there are parts of the law that are a bit of a pain. For example, in South Dakota, the law prevents Seth at Wooden Legs from taking one of their kegs down the street and selling it directly to a local restaurant.
Wine makers in South Dakota, craft farm wineries, have the ability to take their product directly to their retailers. That was a provision that was revised in the state legislature just based on to help accelerate the presence of South Dakota wineries. Coming to the legislation, I've heard through the grapevine, is a provision to allow artisan distillers to do it. And the state of South Dakota has a whole number of distillers that are starting, one up in Watertown, there's one out in Pierre. And beer right now sits as something different. And cider. So I think that's there's a lot of room for improvement.
Coming up, Nate Holbeck of Global Distributing joins us as Beer Untapped continues.
With the ales, Pilsner, lager, or the stout. Hops till the party stops. I make the people shout. Got the full sale, wholesale, not the Duvel. Sometimes champagne, yelling like Timmy. Your fellas keep the cellar, keep it domestic. My big old fat top. Time to get reckless wherever I'm at. Hey, yo, the party's right here. You like Ed Hardy? We like beer!
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Today we're talking distribution. Nate Holbeck is with Global Distributing out of Sioux Falls. They're unique in this area in that they handle only craft beers and imports. Nate says the company began several years ago by importing Russian beers.
We went from doing that to picking up some local craft breweries, Millstream being one of them right away. And then we were one of the first people ever to get Surly in, and just draft only. Since then, we've brought in quite a few different breweries throughout the years, and our focus is on local, our focus is on world class, and our focus is on just trying to bring something new and the best beers to our area.
They now handle several top-notch craft brewers.
We don't have any of the big domestic names, so we have to focus totally on our craft beers, where a lot of other distributors, they have a whole section where it is pushing masses amount of domestic beer, and they do a little craft on the side. Well, our focus is just trying to bring in the best stuff available.
And Nate says they're always working to get new breweries into South Dakota.
There's a lot of breweries out there that everyone, knows that aren't in our state, and everyone, I'm sure, talks to them. I talk to them. I'm sure all the other guys get to talk to them too. And we always say nothing's ever final until the beer's in the warehouse. So there's a lot of good breweries that are going to enter the state, and it's just a matter of time.
If there's a brewery available just across the border in an adjacent state, there's a pretty good chance they'll eventually be in South Dakota. Sully at Pints and Quarts has been involved with craft beer in South Dakota for years and points out that things are far better now than ever before.
We've been able to get some absolutely fantastic beers here. Maybe not the quantities that we want, but you know what? We're getting them, and if you follow us on Facebook and things like that, you will know when we have some of these great beers.
And Sully has the Pints and Quarts Tap Handle Beer of the Week, and it is one of these great beers.
Central Waters Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout. It's a big stout. I'm not even sure on the ABV. We haven't had it since last year. This is an absolutely world-class stout. I really can't think of too many that, fingers of one hand of any that even come close to it. But it's a fantastic beer, and take a few sips of it while it's cold after the bartender gives it to you, and then let it warm up to about 50, 60 degrees. And it's a completely different beer, and it's just amazing.
Finally, plan on attending the Beer Untapped Wooden Legs Super Bowl party on February 1st at Wooden Legs. Great beers, chili tasting and judging, Super Bowl board, and it's all a fundraiser for our good friend Frankie McDowell and her kidney transplant fund. Among those cooking chili, Brookings Radio folks, me included, Mayor Tim Reed, Police Chief Jeff Miller, and others. It's going to be a great time. Don't miss it. Super Bowl Sunday at Wooden Legs. More information can be found on Facebook. Next week, German beers on Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Until then, drink local and drink responsibly.
Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.